Welcome, viewers and listeners, to the Health Revolution, the program that shows you how to have a life of vibrant well-being. In a world full of noisy health trends, we bring you clarity. In a sea of fads, we reveal the science-backed strategies that truly work. We explore physical strength, emotional resilience, and mental mastery. These are the keys to an enriched life. Join us for inspiring interviews with champions who conquered life's health challenges, fueling your journey. Are you ready to unlock your potential? To live with vitality and purpose? Then join the Health Revolution. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, health and fitness expert, speaker, and a mom who understands. Let's embark on this transformative quest. Together, we're about to change the game, starting now. The information provided in this show is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Viewers should use their own discretion and consult with a healthcare professional for personalized guidance and recommendations. Welcome, everybody, to the Health Revolution. We're so excited that you're joining us today. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison. Our show is all about the physical piece of optimizing our health, that emotional resilience, and the mental mastery. So with all three, this is where we can really encapsulate what it means to live our best life. And if you haven't already done so, please hit the subscribe button. We want to make sure that we stay connected to you. So I'm excited about today's topic because a lot of times when we are growing in life, this means that we are healing past things that have really been a trajectory turn in our lives, the unexpecteds that have happened, the traumas that have taken place. And so having that resilience to move forward and grow is such a vital key. And my guest today is a person to talk about just that. So we're going to get a chance to get to know her. First, take a look at this. Watch this video. Meet Tonni Lea Larson, a dedicated advocate and guide for those on a journey of healing and self-discovery. As the host of the TV show Healing Hearts in 12 Steps, Tonni Lea creates a space for individuals to share their experiences of overcoming trauma and finding resilience. Through her Healing Hearts coaching, she empowers others to navigate their healing journey, drawing on her own experiences and the principles of the 12 Steps. Tonni Lea is also an accomplished author with works such as Healing Broken Women and Heal to Be Healed, providing insights and guidance for personal growth. Her commitment to supporting those affected by trauma, betrayal, and abuse is the cornerstone of her work. Tonni Lea's approach is rooted in compassion, understanding, and the belief in the transformative power of healing. Today, we'll explore Tonni Lea's impactful work and her dedication to fostering healing and empowerment. Tonni Lea Larson, welcome to the show. How are you?
Awesome. That's good. Thank you, Adriana.
I'm excited to talk about this because a lot of times our growth comes from the navigation through the darker trenches in our lives. And I'm curious, what led you to really delve into this area of healing from trauma and having the recovery that helps you grow?
Trauma. Being married to a sex addict, intimacy anorexic narcissist. Yeah. And so that led me to a 12-step recovery system.
And was this something that you didn't see coming? It was something that maybe it was looking back, maybe red flags were ignored, or it was just the unexpected, the twists and turns, and how the heck do I get out of this situation?
It definitely was. Looking back, I had some red flags, but at that time I did not know what they were. Now I would know, but yeah, and it blindsided me bad.
So in your healing, what was the one thing that was the sign for you to really take inventory of the type of actionable steps you have to take to get past this part of your life?
I married him again after we had divorced, just to find out within like 2 months that the affair was still going on. And
So go ahead.
I was just going to say it was time to say, oh my gosh, there's something seriously wrong here. I need help.
So in marrying him, obviously, if we've gone through a journey where we could not anticipate some of the outcomes, what were some things that were tougher for you to distinguish? And where I'm going with this, just to add context, is the clues, the signs that perhaps it's time to take different action, even though maybe I just truly wish that things could get better the way I can vision them to be.
Well, for most women, not all women, but most, it takes 7 times. And that's just because women want to give hope. They want to think. And that's what I did. I kept hoping and I kept praying and I kept wishing. Um, and then when I just had that gut feeling again, it was like, nope, something is really, really off, and wasn't going to do it again. I was done. So
What was the turning point with you? I always like to look at maybe the different signs, the pause for thought. Was there a moment that it really it woke you up to a point where you knew that things had to be different? Was it just something that threw you off? Was it a promise that was broken? Was it just a moment of pausing and then just realizing the situation that you were in?
the second time, I just had that gut feeling, and so I picked up his iPad while he was gone, and I found out who it was, and
Okay.
so I made a call because it was a wife of a friend of mine, and so I let him know, and it blindsided him as well. And then I heard God say, "Get off the circus wheel," because I knew I was in that cycle and it was time for it to stop. It was time for me to do something for myself, no matter what. And so that's what the realization was, me. I was the one that was important. I was the one that needed the care, and I was the one that needed the help, and only I could do it.
Did you have a support system at that time that maybe was, so you're shaking your head no, no support system,
No,
friends,
not
family, nothing like that?
no. Well, my kids in a way, but then you hate to draw the kids in, but they were there to support me. But no, I did not. The church, and that is how I found the support system in the 12 steps that I went through.
So in that journey, how long did it take for you to do the personal work where your the mindset shift began to be permanently different from what it was before? Maybe the levels of self-care. Talk a little bit about the type of self-care that you started to implement so that you could heal on an ongoing basis.
It took about 2 months because as soon as I had told him to get his junk and get out,
Mhm.
I had a doctor's appointment, so I had to have surgery. I had a cyst on my spine that had to be removed. So it was just a combination of all that stuff. So it took a couple months for me to finally find the support and stuff that I needed from Dr. The Heart to Heart Counseling Center in the Springs. But self care, I think, came like automatically because of the fact that I knew I had all of these health issues that had to be taken care of and addressed. But then I also slipped into a deep depression a few weeks after that. And that's when the suicide was going to happen. And, God spared me from that. But after that, it was definitely a life changing, this has got to change or I'm not going to make it.
Looking back, would you say that was there any context that you could refer to where your self-esteem was or your level of confidence, just seeing where it was and the type of growth you needed to have take place? Could you, in hindsight, were you able to see the difference between the two? Was there anything that surprised you in terms of just observing and reflecting on what that chapter that you went through?
My self-esteem and all of that I thought was good. But then, when I kept finding time after time that he had these affairs and then what they call gaslighting and the narcissism, they point to you as being the problem. And after you get beat with that so many times, you start believing it. And so I thought I was the one that was going crazy, but I knew I wasn't, but I thought I was. And as soon as he was gone and away, and I had got through that moment of wanting to commit suicide, things started changing. I guess I hit the bottom. So there was only one way up.
And looking through that, so you did mention that well, first of all, let me back up. So how long were you married for?
We were married for 22 years the first time and only 3 months the next time, but we had lived together 5 years before that. So we've been together a long time.
Okay. And kids together. Did you have kids together?
Not kids together, but he was dad. He was stepdad, but he was dad.
Okay.
To my kids. And then we had raised my oldest granddaughter together. So
narcissism has been a little bit more in the forefront in the spotlight in conversations on social media. The topic is coming up. Looking back, there are some characteristics that we hear about with narcissism in terms of like lack of self accountability, just the shifting of blame and just the manipulative tactics that a narcissist will put someone else through. Looking at that journey, what would you say were some of the telltale signs that you missed back then that in hindsight makes sense today?
Well, the number one was that we started off as an affair because he was still married. That should have been the biggest red flag to my life ever. I should have known better. Then the next one was control. It wasn't so much that control, but you can only go here, you can't go there. But just always the continual suggestions about, well, why don't you do it this way? You should do it this way. And all of that. That is control. And that's what they do. So
it takes a lot of guts to take action and break the cycle. What was the framework of the conversations that you had with your kids with the new chapter in your life, and say how you pledged to lead a healthier life? What did that look like?
Well, with my son, it was easy because he's a recovering alcoholic. So he had been in AA 12-step about a year when I mentioned that I was going through a recovery program that also used the 12 steps. And so he related with that and, very, very supportive at that time for that. My daughter, she was very supportive, but she was also not quite as supportive because of the fact that she was having her own issues and that type of stuff. But, she just cared about mom. With my granddaughter, it was not a good thing because sadly, she was being protective of her papa, which is not uncommon for people to do. That a lot of times they will take and protect, the wrong one. But with my son, it was so much easier because he understood. Yeah.
Are there elements that you used in talking with your family members that allowed you to have an even better conversation, maybe the breakthrough conversations for at least some of them? Sounds like your son really understood where you were coming from to get why you were now making the changes that you were. Were there certain things that helped you have that conversation with your family?
For me personally, yes, because I am a woman of great faith. And that's how I raise my children, and my grandchildren also, raised that way. So for me to say that, this is what God is putting in front of me, and this is the life, because God doesn't want his children to be beat up and, belittled and stuff. And so for that, it was much easier to use that, to talk to my son, who is not a believer. The 12 steps definitely, was that common thing in between us that we could understand. But just the fact of just saying, it's time that I took care of myself. And I think that's the biggest thing I learned. Self-care. I mattered, because my whole life I didn't think I mattered at all.
Now, how much of that do you think came from just what you learned when you were younger and you were growing up? Maybe just family history in terms of communication, or how families handle different situations. How much of that would you say had a lot to do with what you were exposed to growing up?
Exposed to, you don't matter.
Okay.
Because you're constantly giving. It doesn't matter who you are, especially the mother. The mother's always the one to care for others, to serve, to do. You didn't care for yourself. And sadly, that's what I learned from my mother, because of her sexual abuse from her father her whole life. She didn't have that. My dad was a little bit better, but I learned my self-care and the ability to care about self, and to know that I was important from all of the other wise women that I had in my life. So that was huge. But family, it didn't. And sadly, I didn't teach that to my family either.
So then going through your journey, you're starting to heal. You are creating the support system that's around you. What was your first professional breakthrough that signaled this was the space that you were going to be in your level of servitude for others?
When I was doing a 12-step, there was a lady in the group. And of course, with this, every Wednesday night was our group, and we share our work. That is called accountability. And then you also get, enforcement or, correction or whatever. But I was on step 3. And it was about writing a letter to God. And so I read out my letter to God. And she said, Tonni, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I was like, no, not really. And she said, well, if you'd write one, I'd buy it. And so I just prayed about it. And so it just started flowing after that. And then I sent it in. Don't remember who I sent the first book into at all. And they called and asked if they could publish the book, and it just blew me away. And that's how it all started.
Did you find that it was maybe bottled up? Did you find that your descriptiveness, the way that you describe your journey, that it was something that was easy? Did you find that you needed to create space for you? Was it an easy segue? I'm curious about that.
It was easy, only because growing up, I guess my grandma did show me an awful lot about myself, but my grandma was a writer, and she'd write stories and she wrote poems, and she always encouraged me. So I was always writing when I was growing up. And then, you go and you have your family and that type of stuff, and it got shoved away. And it just came to light. It was always there. It was hidden, and it came bursting out. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to dive into these books. First, we're going to go ahead and take a commercial break. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this. Hello, Wellness Warriors. Welcome back to Fit Bites with Adriana. Today, let's shine a light on a crucial aspect of mental health, and that is the power of rest. Now, rest is not just about getting enough sleep. It's about giving our minds a break from the constant hustle. Now, in our fast-paced world, we often forget that rest is a form of self-care that's essential for our mental well-being. Now, one way to incorporate rest into your life is through the practice of mindfulness. Now, taking just a few minutes each day to sit quietly and focus on your breath can help clear your mind and reduce stress. Another tip is to create a restful environment at home. Declutter your space, add some soothing elements like plants or soft lighting, and create a cozy corner for relaxation. Now, don't forget to set boundaries around work and technology. Designate times when you can disconnect from emails and social media to give your mind a break from digital stimulation. And remember, rest is not laziness. It's a vital part of maintaining a healthy mind. By embracing rest, we can improve our mental clarity, creativity, and overall mood. So let's commit to making rest a priority in our lives. Stay tuned for more Fit Bites, and here's to a more rested and resilient you.
Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Welcome back to the Health Revolution. Welcome back, everybody. My guest today, Tonni Lea Larson. She's an empowerment coach, a TV host, and she's also a conference organizer. She's an author. And before the break, we were talking about her journey into the professional realm of helping others healing after trauma. So, Tonni Lea, we were talking before you started, you were encouraged by someone that you knew that really enjoyed your writings when you were going through the steps, and you you decided to go ahead and take them up on the offer of just writing it, putting pen to pad. And so you wrote your first book. I do want to bring that up, Healing Broken Women. Can you talk a little bit about this book and the backstory behind this book coming to fruition?
Healing Broken Women is my ministry, and it's because the 12 step tells you to take what you have learned and to pay it forward. And so that's what I did. And, when you go through things, there are things that you learn. There are things that you begin to heal from, and you want to share with other people, because there is nothing like having somebody that has gone through something similar to yours to be there to support you, to guide you. And so that's what I wanted to do with other women. And that's how this came about. And Healing Broken Women, not only do I want to help heal them, but I want to see them thrive. I want to see them enjoy life. I want to see them go forward and to do many, many things.
What is the underlying theme of your book for the reader. And of course, it's safe to assume that the reader is a woman who is really interested in becoming greater than where she is today and just improving on her life. What is the one message, or maybe several messages, that the book has for the reader?
Well, and I used my 12 steps, and through each step, I just revealed, things that I had learned. I think the greatest thing to say is you can do it. There is not one thing that has happened in our life that should hold us down. We can be the victor and not the victim. It's all by choice. So we have to choose whether we want to stay where we are or we want to move forward. But to enjoy life, we got to move forward. And if you can find just, one person to listen to you, to be able to talk to, sometimes that's all it takes is just one person.
And the 12 steps, as you were incorporating this into your book, how long did it take for you to write the book, and what year did it come out?
Oh my, now you've stumped me. I believe it was in 2021, I think. That's bad. And it only took, maybe 5 months to put it all together. Because I can sit down and it just, for me, it just flows. So I say that that's, Holy Spirit, writing for me, but you put out your feelings as well. So, yeah.
What's the feedback you've heard specifically about healing broken women?
People have used it. And so, yeah. And then that's when I decided to do a course off of that. And I mean, the women say, "Oh, I got your book. I got your book. And it's helped me so much. It's helped me to understand." Maybe that's another thing, is because I put in there so many of the signs that I missed, hoping that other women don't miss them.
In writing the book, sometimes in talking with authors, I do come across this. Have you any revelations that have come up for you when you wrote this book?
Yeah, why didn't I do it long time before then? Why didn't I realize all of this? But everything happens in its time and for a reason.
What is the most surprising example, or maybe the most heartfelt story you've heard out of feedback that you've gotten from a reader who's read your book?
Well, she is actually one of my clients. So she read the book, and it was such an inspiration to her that she wanted to do the course, because she wants to become a writer, but she also wants to care about herself, because she was not taught self-care or that she was valuable or anything either. And so just to hear that that's what she wants, is for her life to be better and to be better for her children.
Would you say that society plays a role in breaking through some of what, say, we women that we find ourselves overcoming in order to be healed, in order to be whole? Do you think that what's your take on society's contribution to many women who are striving to just live their best life, live an optimal life, and just make it all worthwhile?
I think today it is so much better than when, I first started out, as a young adult, because there's just access to all of that stuff now. I mean, you can find it anywhere, right? Thank goodness for technology and our social medias and websites and all of that type of podcasts and all of that type of stuff. But then also it plays a bad part, because of the fact that we're, maybe not as much as it used to be, but women were supposed to be in the house, serving and all of that type of stuff. And it's not that way. And I think we're finally seeing that a woman is valuable in so many ways, just as a man is. A man isn't just the one that goes out and works and supplies for the family, So I think that it's a good thing, but the resources are huge, and it's up to us to access them. That's for sure.
And so when you wrote this book, obviously the urge to write was still there. And so I'm curious, at what point in time did you find that you still had it in you to continue writing? What was that like? That moment when you came to the realization of, I have more to say, I have more to contribute, I have more to bring to the table.
Well, and that's why I went ahead and did the 12-step course, that I do with my coaching, and just took that because of the fact I know that it works. I went through 3-step books, one for marriage, one for the sex addict, and then the other one on betrayal. So I know that it works. And then the fact of going on and writing, because I was asked to do collaborations in other books, and that type of stuff. And then, came about the healing conferences and just the Healing Hearts TV and all of that. And so the healing is just my gift. So it's my anointing.
Let's talk about the next book that you helped bring to fruition, and that's Heal to Be Healed. Talk a little bit about that, the backstory, the backstory behind it, and then the meaning behind Heal to Be Healed.
Well, and it's still coming to fruition. It's been on Times Square. It was debuted, but we're still putting authors together, so it's still not published. And then again, once it's published, it will be debuted on Times Square. But it came together because I wanted a chance for my speakers at the Healing Conference to be able to tell their story, so that, thousands of people could read about it. And then also other people that have went through, like, losing a child, fitness, because healed comes in so many different ways: mind, body, soul, and spirit. And so it's, by therapists, it's by massage, it's by nutrition, it's by exercise, all of those sort of things like that. So it all comes together.
How does one start the healing process, regardless of where they're at? Is there a foundational piece that is critical to jump out of the starting gate, or at least begin that journey?
A choice. You have to choose. Yeah. I think that it doesn't matter, because even if you start working on yourself as fitness, you start getting healthier strength wise, it's going to help your mind. It's going to better your spirit. It's going to better your soul, and your body's going to be better. If you think that you need to go to counseling, or you do, through a coaching, and then your mind starts getting healthier, that's going to increase your body. And then that's going to bring awareness of your spirit. It's going to help you think, oh, I need to take better care of myself. I need to do more self-care. I need to eat better. I need to exercise, and that's just what I think. It all works together.
So talk a little bit about your coaching program and the makings behind it. So obviously, after writing the book, there was still more to be said and ways to help others. Who is the coaching program for? What is the premise behind it?
Well, like I said, it was because of that's how I got my recovery. That's how I got my sanity and my health. And I've never been healthier in my life, and I've had all kinds of health issues. And so you get rid of that, because when we go through stressful situations, when we go through trauma, there's so many things that just stay within our body that our body doesn't know how to get rid of. And so by going through, the nutrition, the exercising, getting rid of the stress by different exercises, like as anger. And I think it's in Colorado Springs, there's a place called the Axe, where you take the axe and you throw it. There's a place where you can go and you can throw plates. There's just different little things. And that's the whole thing, is because we have to get rid of that anger. And that's part of that stress. And that gets rid of all of those endorphins. And you know more about this than I do. But your body begins to get healthier. and through the course, I do that by asking questions too about like, what was your relationship like with mom? Okay, so if we don't have a good relationship with mom, how are we going to know what, you know, because they're usually the ones that tell us, you're such a beautiful girl. You know, they're supposed to anyway, and encourage us. And if we don't have that, then does dad do it? Did dad do a good job? And there's all kinds of different ways. There's so many things that affect our life. And if we can get to the very bottom, to the source of what started it all. For mine, it was 5 years old when I was molested. And so my body meant nothing to me. It was like, you know, you want to touch, you can touch. So unhealthy, so wrong, so detrimental. But that's what we learned. So I had to go through all of that and get to that source and then go back to that little girl and tell that little girl that it was not her fault.
So there's that connection that you have, and thank you for sharing that. You mentioned before that there were some health obstacles that were coming along the way. So say there is an audience viewer watching that is dealing with a health issue. How do you integrate physical healing with the emotional piece and just utilize your energies in the most efficient way? What are some, I'm curious about the nuggets that our audience can really tap into for moments like that.
Well, and for me, of course, mine, you know, the brain tumor, I had to go to the doctor for that and the radiation and stuff. But even just the mindset of things about being positive, you know, you're going to be the valor or you're going to be the victim. I've never wanted to be the victim. Oh, you can get in your little pity potty for a little while, obviously, because that caused the depression. But, you know, the mindset has so much to do with that, I think. Spirituality, you know, do you believe in God? Do you believe in higher power? Do you believe in the energy? You know, what is it that you believe in? What gives you hope? What gives you faith? And nutrition is so important. And I'm the worst about that because, you know, I'm a baker, so I like everything that's, you know, bread or sweets, that type of stuff. But sometimes you have to, you know, back away from all of that stuff too.
Are there certain elements that need to be established so that the healing can happen? Like, do you put parameters around how much time it feels good to process maybe a moment that sets us back? Is there a committed timeline to commit to action, even if it doesn't feel good? And just want to quickly dive into that before we go into our next commercial break.
I think the most important thing is the self-care. Taking time for you and knowing that it's okay. It's not a selfish thing, but to take time. Like, I love how you say that rest is not meaning that you're lazy. I love that because we think that, and sadly, I think we've been conditioned that through, you know, society or whatever, but to take that self-care time and to know that, hey, if I gotta, you know, stop for 5 minutes and just sit there and do nothing, it's quite all right because obviously I need it. You know, and those sort of things like that.
And that's important. We're going to go ahead and continue on. We're going to take a commercial break first. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this. Thank you so much for watching The Health Revolution. Our show is growing, and it's all thanks to viewers like you. No matter how you found us, please hit the subscribe button so we can stay connected and continue to deliver amazing content to you.
Life is so fragile, and we're constantly reminded just how fragile life can be, especially when we or a loved one is told we have cancer. Cancer survivor myself, I can tell you, we still feel very alone in this journey.
There's a study that's been shown that patients who are socially isolated have a worse prognosis, have a worse outcome than patients who are socially interconnected.
Buddies for Life is a non-profit cancer support group for those whose life has been impacted by cancer. Humor, hope, heart, and hugs.
Humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love.
Share this with your friends and family and support this community in every way you can. No one should face cancer alone.
I am a chemo buddy for life.
We are a buddies network.
No one does cancer alone.
Be a buddy.
And we are all here for you as a community of love.
We are chemo buddies for life.
And if you've heard 3 words, you have cancer, for yourself or someone else, you belong with us at Chemo Buddies for Life.
Healing through connections.
And now we want to give special thanks to Biomed Mobile IV for sponsoring the Health Revolution. Biomed Mobile IV is Colorado's top mobile IV therapy service, servicing throughout the state of Colorado. They offer an array of vitamins and above and beyond safety preparation. Biomed Mobile IV, your dedication to health and wellness is exactly what our show is all about. And we thank you for your support. Welcome back to the Health Revolution. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Adriana Morris, and my guest today, Tonni Lea Larson. She is an empowerment coach, author, TV host, and also a conference organizer. We've been talking about overcoming traumas and embracing hope for healing to really take it to the next level. And as we were going into the break, I know that we were talking about how your program has been made available to work with others. You touched on a couple elements that have allow viewers the takeaway of things to keep in mind to start the healing process. Now, I'm curious, with the different roles that you have, Tonni Lea, you mentioned that you work with others in terms of hosting conferences. Can you talk a little bit about how you've segued into being an author, having a coaching program, and then taking your message to the next level?
Well, going to the conference was a whole nother story, too, because of the fact that I was coming home from a conference and I just kept hearing these words, the healing conference, the healing conference. And for me, being a believer, I was like, okay, Lord, what are you trying to tell me? And it just is, the more I listened, the more he started putting it together. And I came home and called a friend of mine that I had met through another speaking conference. And I said, hey, what about? And they're like, I don't know, because I had already made it and it was going to be within 6 weeks. And they're like, that's going to take an awful lot. And I said, oh, no. It'll come together, and it did. And so that's how it all began. And I just knew that it was going to be the healing conference. Again, healing mind, body, soul, and spirit. So it didn't matter if they were a nutritionist, therapist, that they had a story to tell.
So the message behind the conference, is it for those to use elements to help others heal, for those to heal themselves? And you mentioned several roles. What does all that look like?
It's for everything.
Okay.
Yes. Because, it's just by hearing someone else's story, it gives us motivation. It encourages us, because somebody else has walked the journey that we are in the midst of walking. And then you can take that and, of course, heal yourself, right? Because of the fact that if you have a positive attitude. That's why I was listening to your commercial about the chemo buddies. Oh my goodness. That's amazing. Because of the fact that when you're going through something, there is nothing like having someone else that has endured or is enduring the same thing as you to be a support. I know when I went through the breast cancer, that was the best thing that ever happened to me, was meeting all of these other sisters, because it gives you support. So through the healing conference, the same thing. And then to learn how to take care of yourself through nutrition, self-care, massage, those type of things, because that is all so important to your body, mind, soul, and spirit.
So, and you're absolutely correct. And as we're segueing into highlighting what the Healing Conference is, how many has taken place? Now, I know that there was one in December, correct? Was that your first one, or had you been in, was there another one before that? Or talk a little bit about that, and where was that?
That was the third one, and that was in Colorado Springs. And that's where the first one was, in Colorado Springs. Then the next one was in Grand Junction, which is on the western slope of Colorado. Then the third one was in Colorado Springs. The next one will be in Grand Junction in September. And then the one following that is going to be in my new state.
Okay, let's go ahead and let's see if we can go ahead and bring up the slide on this one. So talk a little bit about this, and just to shed light and recognition. So bigger and better. So the one in September coming up, obviously that is later on in the year. What's the format? Is it all 3 days? Is there a theme behind it? What are some unique characteristics about the conference that you're excited to bring to the table?
Well, and it's, again, the Healing Conference, dealing with mind, body, soul, and spirit. So my speakers are of their own impactful story. I've had pastors come and talk. I've had therapists who do tapping, that type of stuff, come and speak. Those that, just dwell into the inner. This gentleman here is M. Curtis McCoy, and that is my co-producer, and that is my friend, and he's just amazing. And he does all the videotaping, and he's designed the website and all of that. And so he is a huge part of that, just as much as I am. So I have to make sure that I recognize him. The one in Grand Junction is going to be on Friday the 20th. And it's a half day on Saturday, because nobody wants to spend, their whole weekend at a conference. So I just do it that way. And then it gives us time to sit there and, communicate back and forth. But yeah, so it's amazing.
So attendees from all over, near and far, and they'll be able, anyone who is interested is able to attend. What is your mission for the Healing Conference? And I ask this without assuming what the bigger picture is, but perhaps a very poignant message behind it. What is the one thing you want others to know about the value that you're presenting?
They matter. They matter. They are so worth taking the time for themselves to heal in whatever area it is. Then I would say the second one is, I love bringing in people that have not spoken. They're coming in for their very first time, and then to see them just go on. Everybody needs that first opportunity, right? And so I'm not huge. I'm going to be huge one of these days. I just know. But for a speaker to come in and to share, the communication, the drawing together of people, the collaboration, that is phenomenal, because you just join with people. And I love that about the conferences.
So as the book is coming to fruition and still in the works, Heal to Be Healed, are there more writings that you are planning on doing? Is it to be continued? Do you feel like another book is in the works? Is it just a wait and see? What's your take on that?
I love doing collaborations, and I think I've done like 4 of those lately. My most favorite one was the Book of Esther. Writing on that, because I love Esther. And then there's the next one is Deborah, the anointing of Deborah, because those women were so strong. And the next book that I know will be mine is God Wants His Greatest for You.
And it's exciting that you're integrating all of this to bring the message about healing and hope. And that's something that is clearly such a positive light in that regard. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this.
Hi, this is Clara Capano, your host for Women Winning Their Way, where we talk about how you can create success all on your terms. Join us Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Limelight Network here on E360 TV.
Welcome back to the Health Revolution. My guest today, Tonni Lea Larson. She is an empowerment coach, a TV host. She's also an author and a conference organizer. Tonni Lea, where can people find you out there on the internet and on social media? Where are you?
I'm everywhere. My website is TonniLea.com. And I am on Facebook, Tonni Lea Larson. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn, TikTok, and YouTube. Did I cover all those? Yeah.
Yes. And so on your website, you have upcoming information for the conference and things that are laying out for 2024 and beyond, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Things like that. Okay. And one thing I do want to ask you, I know we have a little bit of time. We have just a couple minutes left, but how do you stay grounded and connected as someone who is a coach and working with others to really embrace healing? What helps you stay grounded and connected?
My relationship with God, really, first and foremost. That's me. Yeah. And then I have a spiritual brother that I can go to for anything. And that's amazing. And that's probably one of the biggest things that we should do as just humans, is have a support, have someone that we can go to, whether it's your husband or your wife or a spiritual leader or something like that. But that support is so critical.
And I'm assuming that that's definitely a message that you do share at your conferences, that the underlying message of connection and how beneficial that is for others.
Absolutely, because I wouldn't be here had it not been for other people being involved in my life, because I tried to do it all alone and go through the hard times all alone, and it drove me to the very bottom. So yeah, support is huge, the connections, and I love meeting new people. It's so exciting.
What is the one message that you want to give to those who are either looking to either to write a book or to really take their journey of healing to the next step and step into that professional light?
Probably the most important thing I would say is you are so worth it, because you're priceless. There is not another human being that has ever been or ever will be like you. And if you dream it, if you want it, go get it.
Very powerful words. Tonni Lea Larson, I appreciate you being a part of the show. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Adriana. Thank you for the invitation. And this has been wonderful.
Absolutely.
And I love what you stand for.
Vice versa. And for all our viewers, of course, as a quick reminder, don't forget that you can check us out on the website, which is at thehealthrevolutiontv.com. You can subscribe to our newsletter. You can certainly email us with any show ideas that you'd like for us to cover, and we will certainly deliver that to you. On the upper left-hand corner of the screen, you will see our QR code as the crow flies. If you want to grab that and then get to our website, absolutely feel free to do so. And then, of course, as always, you can find us weekly, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, right here on E360 TV. And that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, take care. We'll see you soon.